nature has made only one way to make humans truly understand what compassion, empathy, love, and kindness means. We have to allow our children to raise animals, be responsible for a life, you know, allow our children to grow vegetables, fruits, and flowers. And in return, the animals, the flowers, the fruits, and the vegetables will inject compassion, empathy, love, and kindness into humans' blood. I believe there is no other way.
What's good, dear Dovies? Warm welcome to finally a new entry into the Diary of Volunteers on Earth. Dove podcast is back. I don't know if I'm gonna call it a new season, but there's been quite a large break over the last few weeks and months. If you are a regular listener, then you know that my last episode was out of Isfahan in Iran. And before I get to today's episode, which I recorded in Pakistan, in the north of Pakistan to be specific, let me just do a few quick words of housekeeping. And first and foremost, let me explain why there was such a big break. I did build up a little bit of a comfort zone around myself in Iran, especially in Isfahan. I stayed there in total, I think, almost 4 weeks. And the way I work is that when I am comfortable and when I'm in a comfort zone, I become lazy. And that's what happened with my podcast. That's what happened with Dove. I became lazy. I stopped doing research, trying to find people to do the podcast with. And the other reason being that accessing the internet is not that easy in Iran. A lot of things are blocked, especially services like Spotify, YouTube, Instagram. A lot of those things are only accessible if you use a VPN. And that kind of bothered me. It made it less fun to produce content. That's also why I stopped doing vlogs. If you have been watching the first 3 that I think I uploaded on YouTube. But nonetheless, now I'm back. And hopefully with full force. We'll see how many episodes I'm able to push out over the next few weeks. And before we get to today's episode, let me just quickly thank my sponsors of this podcast, the good old Dr. Walter Insurance Company, who I chose for my travel and international health insurance. And over the last few weeks, if you have been following my stories on Instagram and my posts, you know that I was very close to having to use them. I got a little eye infection. It's all better now in Pakistan, and also did some quite adventurous hiking all the way up to a place called Fairy Meadows, where you just have to go up the second most dangerous road in the world. So it is very important that if you do anything like backpacking, hitchhiking, traveling around the world, volunteering, au pair, to get a good health and travel insurance that covers basically everything that you need, so that you don't have to worry in case anything happens. I can highly recommend Dr. Walter's Pro Trip or Pro Trip World products. Check out the show notes if you are interested. If you are planning a longer term trip, then for sure Dr. Walter is the insurance company that you want to go with. So thank you again for that. And now to today's episode, which I recorded in the beautiful, absolutely gorgeous Hunza Valley in northern Pakistan, amidst I think 6, 7, maybe even 8 mountains that are higher than 7,000 meters. It's a completely unique place that at least I've never seen anywhere else in the world. We do have some mountains in Austria, as you know, but none of them are even nearly as high. They're not even half as high as some of the mountains that I saw in Hunza. And through my travel buddy Daniel, that some of you who are listening to this might also know from my Instagram stories, I got to know Khawaja, also known by his nickname Sunny. I hope he doesn't mind that I call him that now on the podcast. And Daniel met him randomly while hitchhiking, and he told me about what an amazing guy he is and all the amazing things that he does. And I said, hey, that sounds like a great candidate for the podcast. So I messaged him and he was all over it. He was super excited to do it. And as you will notice in the episode, he has so much knowledge. He knows so many things also about Islam and religion, which was definitely challenging for me to talk about on this podcast because I don't know that much about it, and when you don't know much about a topic, it becomes difficult to talk about it. But that was not the main subject of the podcast that we recorded. The main subject was his work as an animal activist. He runs a dog shelter in Hunza and also an animal shelter here. Well, not here because I'm already in India now, but in Lahore in Pakistan, the second largest city of Pakistan. He is also an activist when it comes to women empowerment. He also He is also involved with women empowerment and autism, people who have autism in Pakistan. And overall, he's just a very, very interesting and special person. And that's also, I think, how our episode turned out. You will see that we got interrupted for a little while by the call for prayer, azan as it is called, where out of respect we stopped recording. And yeah, the episode, the entry, the conversation went in a lot of different ways, a lot of ways that I didn't necessarily expect, a lot of ways where it was challenging for me how to return back to the original topic. I'm very curious to hear and read what you guys think about it. So if you like it, if you're gonna listen to the episode, make sure that you drop me a comment or send me a private message. Also, please make sure that you, at the end of, or even now, just before listening, just hit that subscribe button, leave a review on Spotify. That helps me a lot. And now, without any further ado, I give you Hawaja and our conversation. We're here in beautiful Hunza Valley with a perfect view over some parts of the valley. And I'm here with Khwaja Nomad,
Hello.
who I met through my travel buddy Daniel, that some of you already know, maybe through some Instagram stories or posts that people out there have seen. Yeah, Khwaja was nice enough to agree to record a podcast because he does a lot. You are very active, I think. Maybe just introduce yourself and tell us about your home that you've been working on over the last how many years you said?
I've been living here, this is my second year here, but I've been coming and going here for the past 12 years, 10, 12 years. And like 2 years ago, I decided to, get myself a nice house and grow vegetables and flowers and have my own fruits and my own dairy, something like that. So I got myself a house in Hunza and I'm just loving it, man. Mm-hmm. I'm just loving it so much. The neighbors are so nice, they're farmers, so I get like dairy and vegetables and fruits like all the time from them, and whenever they cook, they always share.
Nice.
So I never have to cook. And it's just a beautiful place. And
are you aware that you're basically kind of living the dream of a lot of people where I'm from, having their own little, you call it fortress, right? Or fort?
I call it Ganesh Fort.
Ganesh Fort, because Ganesh is the village
Yes, Ganesh
that we're looking on.
And it has a 1,000-year history.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Agriculture based.
That's amazing. Yeah, for people who have never been to northern Pakistan, we are in a very green valley, surrounded by mountains over 7,000 meters high, some of them.
Yes.
And people have been doing agriculture here for, like you said, over 1,000 years.
Yeah, So you can see Rakaposhi from here, which is 7,700 something meters, and then Diran here, again over 7,000 meters, and Ultar and Ladyfinger on the other side, and then Golden Peak on this side, on the left side. So surrounded by big mountains, and the valley, as you can see, it's agriculture based, so it's lush green. Behind me is a fruit forest. There's plenty of fruits. So I also have a kitchen garden here. So as I told you, I like to grow my own vegetables, and then I have 6 different fruits. It's amazing.
We were just plucking some sour cherries.
Yeah. They're called Gulduru here locally. Gulduru. Yeah, delicious. They are almost ready. Just I think 3-4 more days to go, and then they'll be ready. And yes, as to your earlier question, this is everybody's dream, man, even in Pakistan.
Yeah.
And this is how, I believe we are not human beings. We are spiritual beings going through a human experience.
Yes.
And I strongly believe in that. And I think everybody wants to live like this. Even people who don't want to, who think they don't want to.
They just are not aware.
They just don't know it,
Yeah.
what they're missing.
Yeah. So what do you think it takes, first of all, if you're not aware, to become aware that that's actually a dream kind of lifestyle, because it's also a kind of lifestyle.
Yeah.
And second of all, what are some steps that you have gone through to achieve a lifestyle like that?
The very first thing is that you have to hate things.
Hate things.
Yeah, literally hate things, like things as in a bigger TV, a nice car, a big house, lots of money in your bank account.
Interesting.
Because if you're not out of things, if you don't really hate things to your core, then you can't live here, because you don't have things here. I mean, my house doesn't have Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
And it was very difficult for me in the start, in the beginning, but then I finally got rid of it. You can do anything. You just have to tell yourself again and again that this is what you need to do. Because I thought these are my prescription glasses. Okay? So back in Lahore, I used to use so much phone, like all the time. And something was constantly telling me that I am going to lose my eyesight if I don't stop. And even then I couldn't. And then I finally decided that, this move is going to help that thing too. And I'm not going to have Wi-Fi in my Ganesh house.
In a sense, you were also listening to your body, I guess? Your body telling you you're gonna lose eyesight or something like that?
Yes, because, I felt pain all the time on my forehead, around my eyes. It was on phone like all the time, like most of the people.
Before we started recording, we were already talking a lot. Actually, I wish I pressed record earlier, because we were already talking.
I thought you were recording.
Yeah.
For 20 minutes, I thought you were recording, man.
Sometimes I should really just do it without announcing it. Just press that button.
That is exactly what you should do.
that's what I should do.
And I was expecting that from you.
But you were basically telling me, and also Daniel, that you've lived 2 lives.
Yeah.
Or maybe even more, I don't know. But you talked about a drastic change in your life through, well, actually maybe you just want to talk about how and when that happened in your life.
So back in 2018, I did the K2 base camp trek. That changed a few things. And in 2020, October 25th, 2020, I lost my dog. He got stolen from Lahore. And that changed everything in my life. I became an activist. And before I lost him, I used to see these animals who need help, but I was not interested. It didn't even cross my mind that, you know, I should get down from my car and give this dog some water. And when I lost him, everything just opened up in my head. And I suddenly, wanted to help animals, work for, against animal cruelty and spread animal awareness and things like that. And it all started.
And you, in the meantime, so that was basically 3 years ago, roughly?
2020, yeah, October 2003 years, yeah.
And in that time, you've built up everything that you've set up, or that already started earlier. For example, you were running an animal shelter here.
Whatever I'm doing for animals started in after that, after I lost Hachi. And before that, I didn't even knew what these shelters do or what these activists do.
So can you tell me about what you've built and what sort of institutions also you work together with?
So I specialize in animal awareness. That is the most important thing I think which needs to be done on the planet. More important than any other thing, more important than whatever you can think of. Because nature has, I'm quickly going to turn off the phone because there's azan.
Should we also press pause and record after azan?
Yeah, if you can. Nature has made only one way to make humans truly understand what compassion, empathy, love and kindness means. We have to allow our children to raise animals, be responsible for a life, allow our children to grow vegetables, fruits and flowers. And in return, the animals, the flowers, the fruits and the vegetables will inject compassion, empathy, love and kindness into humans' blood. I believe there is no other way. You can tell a child, you can tell a human what these words mean, the dictionary meanings of the word, but you cannot make them understand the essence of these words, the very soul of these words. For that there is only one way, and we need to add a lot of animal awareness into our education system. Countries like Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Afghanistan, a lot of this work has been done. It's going on for the past few decades in the developed countries. But as far as countries like Pakistan are concerned, we don't even have animal rights in Pakistan. So you go out and...
You were talking about the 20 dogs.
Yeah. You go out and you shoot a couple of dozen dogs and, you're not going to jail. You'll go through some trouble, but yeah.
You told me before, for the first 30 years of your life, you didn't necessarily care about animal rights at all as well. What happened then? Why did that change?
I used to hit dogs with stones and sticks. And that's what I saw around me. And I believe 90% of Pakistanis are brought up like that. So a Pakistani, when he or she sees a dog, I'm talking about majority of the Pakistanis, like, 90% man. When they see a dog, they think about three things. It's dirty, it's going to bite, and they pick up a stone and throw at it. Throw at the dog or the cat. So it runs away. That's how most Pakistanis or most Afghans or most Indians or this part of the world, that's how you're brought up. And for the first 30 years, I hated dogs and cats, and I considered them extremely dirty. And I was also very, very religious. So I was afraid that, they're going to touch my clothes and then I'll have to go wash myself and change clothes and go through all that trouble. So I avoided going to homes which had dogs or cats. I just hated them to my core. And then, you know, something changed back in, I was in Chicago, a small town called Beverly Shores near Chicago, and it was 2 a.m. and I landed at a friend's place and I was so tired. I told him I haven't slept for 3 days. Just show me some nice place where I can sleep. And so I was sleeping, and at like 6 a.m. I was having these very naughty dreams that I'm at a beach and with some girls, you know, all around me in bikinis. And when I woke up, a fully grown, jet black Belgian Shepherd was licking my face and my neck. That was my very first interaction, my very first touch, you know, very first interaction with a dog.
Wow.
And I screamed at the top of my voice, and he ran away. And he got so scared. I gave him a heart attack. Imagine, you know, giving a heart attack to a dog. So that's where my life changed. So my friend, my host, he's an American, and he was very much interested in comparative religion, and he read a lot about it, and I knew a lot too about, you know, Islam. So he told me, you know, why are you so scared? And I told him, you know, dogs are dirty, and I can't allow a dog to touch me, and I'm also scared of dogs, you know, they bite and do all those things. And he told me, nowhere in Quran, you know, nowhere in Quran Allah has mentioned anything which there's no hatred in Quran for dogs. I said, no, there is. He said, show me. Where in Quran? He said, I'll show you 3 surahs in Quran where dog has only spoken with compassion and empathy and with love and kindness for dogs. You show me one word in Quran which is against dogs. So I said, okay. I was just following Islam, you know. I didn't know what it really says because I was very young and I didn't read the translation of the book.
Sure.
So, and he was right, and that changed.
Interesting. You talked about the importance of religion when it comes to changing people's mindsets about how we view animals, especially here in Pakistan, for example, where the majority of people is Muslim of different varieties, of course. You said
72.6.
You also talked about the importance of distinction between religion and the institution behind it. Because, yeah, maybe you just want to give an explanation what you mean by that.
Yeah, I was telling you that the Islam we have in Pakistan and countries like Pakistan, the Muslim countries like Pakistan, does not come from Quran. It comes from the 2 million mosques we have in Pakistan. You know, whatever the Imam says, whatever the priest says, that becomes religion. So when I first, you know, got to get out of Pakistan back in my teen days, I went to Australia to attend a university there, and for the first time in my life, I saw real Islam.
Wow.
And it didn't even cross my mind that there's another better version of Islam or the true version of Islam. I didn't know that I'm going to see it once I leave Pakistan. So people who, you know, I met people who were not Muslims by birth. And they taught me what real Islam is.
So, can you explain it in a few sentences what you learned, what real and true Islam is, as opposed to what you learned through the mosques here in Pakistan, for example?
Well, true Islam, you have reminded me of something very interesting. This writer I love, I read it in his book, Ishwaq Ahmed is the writer. Yeah. So somebody asked someone what Islam is, and he replied that Islam is Muhammad, peace be upon him. He said, everything you want to know about Islam, just see how Muhammad, peace be upon him, lived his life. He was the true picture of Islam. So, there is a verse in Quran which translates like this. There is only one kind of person who cannot go to heaven. There is one kind of person whose chances of going to heaven are very, 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 very rare. A person who fills up his tummy and knows that his neighbor is hungry. A person whose neighbor is not happy because he is trouble all the time. And this thing says like everything. And Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, if you want everything in a nutshell, if you want a successful life and a successful life after death, if you want everything to go right, there is a shortcut. Just make your tongue sweet. It's such a difficult thing to do, I swear.
Make your tongue sweet?
Make your tongue sweet. Just keep it sweet.
It's metaphorical, right?
Yeah.
Basically, only speaking good words, or how would you interpret making the tongue sweet?
Yeah. Don't hurt people. Don't hurt any living being. Talk nicely with everyone.
Yeah.
And everything else around you will fall on the right spots.
It's so fascinating to hear something like that, because obviously coming from a European country, predominantly Christian country, we get presented a completely different picture of Islam. We get presented the picture that, I don't know if you would agree with that, but that the version of Islam that is changed, I don't want to say any more negative words, but by the institutions.
Yeah.
And it's basically spoiled. It's a spoiled version, isn't it?
It is, of course. Look at the spoiled version in Pakistan.
Yeah.
I mean, in cities, everybody, not everybody, sorry, but there are so many people who perform Hajj, the pilgrimage, or say their prayers, or fast, and read Quran.
Yeah.
But they are also involved in bank interest. You know what? I don't know if you know what bank interest is in Islam. Bank interest is, I'm going to tell you the exact words of Quran. Okay?
Sure.
It's like having sex with your mother.
It says it like that in the Quran?
It says it like that.
Really?
Yeah. It's like having sex with your mother, and it's like this one. I'm not sure if it's in Quran or if it's a hadith. Whatever the Prophet said is hadith. And the second thing is, it's like eating your dead brother's meat.
Wow. Those are strong comparisons.
Yeah. That's how much Quran, Allah hates interest.
Wow.
Bank interest. Or interest.
Yeah.
And if you see it, it has only destroyed humans' lives.
Bank interest, that is.
Bank interest.
Yeah.
It makes you keep of this ugly system, and it keeps you there. It doesn't allow you to get out. Mortgages and loans and.
It's interesting to think about the fact how much we blame, how many of our problems we blame on, for example, the system of capitalism. I think a lot of people do that, but that's actually one major part of it, isn't it? Bank interest and and that system being trapped in that system of
Even war.
yeah.
It's all about banks and corporations. So every ugly thing going on out there, even if you have a bank account, you can't even have a bank account. So you see, this is how bad it is. So people pray 5 times a day and perform pilgrimage, and they think they're very good Muslims, but they are involved with a system. The foundations of which are based on loan, on interest, on interest. And I've told you what Quran says about it. And there are other things, like when a girl gets married, she is not supposed to bring anything with her in Islam. She is supposed to receive things. So in Saudi or UAE, when girls get married, she gets a lot of things from the groom. But in Pakistan, when the girl goes, she takes a fridge with her, a TV with her. The bigger the TV, the more respect she gets. Car sometimes. With rich families, property maybe, lots of gold. So this is not an Islamic thing. This came from when we were one country, India and Pakistan. It was Hindustan.
I don't want to get too far away from animals, but maybe this is a good opportunity to ask. How do you feel as someone who's, you also said you were one of the preachers for the Tablighi
Jamaat, people who preach Islam.
So you have very strong knowledge of the teachings.
I would not say strong knowledge, but it has always been my favorite subject, and I've read some books, and I've sat with people who are considered best, and
I want to ask about the role of women in Islam, because I feel like that's something that we, again, putting on my Austrian perspective and my European perspective, we feel like that is a major difference, maybe, in the way people who are in sorts religious treat women. I don't know. Yes, you can say many bad things about the Catholic Church as well, no questions. But that's something that we as Europeans see is so different in Muslim cultures. How would you say what actually does say Islam about that, and how is it different? How is it differently lived in reality? Again, maybe due to the institutions, due to, I don't know, what the mosques say. I don't know. What's your take on that?
Muslims ruled the world for over 800 years. That says a lot about the importance of women in Islam. That says a lot about it.
How so?
You cannot rule the world for 800 years if you don't give importance to your woman. It's just not possible, man.
Okay.
It's just not possible. You're looking, then you're talking about a very ugly society with tons of trouble in it. I mean, not giving importance to your woman. And whatever importance the Quran, Islam gives to women, I don't see even 5% of it in Pakistan, or even 5-10% in Pakistan. I mean, they have right in the property. Whatever you get from your father, they have right. But in most of the cases, they don't get. The brothers take everything.
Yes.
Women are, in a lot of cases, they are kept inside homes. They are not allowed to, there are many women in the cities, of course. Cities are different. But then 80% of Pakistan is rural area, are villages.
Which is mind-blowing, actually, I think. But yeah, go on, sorry.
Yeah. So that's like, what, 160 million or 180 million people, 160 million people live in the villages out of the 220 million, or 180 million people live in villages. And only 40 million lives in cities. So those women back in the 80% of Pakistani women, you know, they don't have that kind of a freedom to, you know, go out and educate themselves or become independent. They're like this bird in a cage. That's how they are raised. So one day, even if you leave the cage open, they're not going to fly away because they don't know how to fly. They will never spread their wings.
Why is that?
The wrong interpretation of Quran, the wrong interpretation of Islam, because those 80% can read Quran in Arabic, but they will never read it in Urdu, in their own language. It's amazing. Majority, again, I know I use a lot of percentages, but I like to
Sure, no, it's good to attach numbers. Yeah.
attach numbers, and these are not like the numbers.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
this is me.
Yeah.
So
I'll fact check you after. No, just kidding.
I don't know what I was saying.
You were talking about the 80% that read the Quran in Arabic but have no idea about what it actually
So
says.
I'll say 80-90% of the people never read the translation, the commentary of the Quran. They just read it in Arabic. And you know, even in prayers, it's all Arabic.
Yeah,
And ask someone, can you tell me what you were saying?
they don't know.
And I'll tell you 90% of the people will not be able to tell you what they're saying.
It's kind of absurd.
So, you know, this defines everything. So it's not Quran, it's not Islam, it's not Quran we are seeing, we see in Pakistan. They say it's a Muslim country, but you know, it's just the Islamic Republic of Pakistan.
So, what is it truly saying? What's being misinterpreted? How, maybe in your personal view, but also according to what you know about the Quran, how would be the ideal way of men and women living together under, like, let's say, Islamic values?
Every institution has a CEO. Same goes for marriage. The man is the CEO. It just can't work otherwise. Everything else just falls on its spot if the woman understands that. And a lot of women, Muslim women, understand that. They let their man lead. And he brings the bread and butter to the table. And the woman, if she wants to work, Islam allows that. But she has to cover herself. That's what Islam says.
Yeah.
And I used to think differently, but now, you know, my thoughts are synchronized with Quran on this too. And at least, you know, it should exposing, you know, your skin, and you know what I mean, you know, a decent covering, something decent, which does not, you know, attract any attraction.
Isn't that also limiting the freedom though? Because we were talking about the bird in the cage picture, kind of. But isn't that also kind of like putting I don't know, putting some cardboard over a beautiful bird so they can't fly, to show everybody their beautiful feathers?
You know, in the past, I don't know, 10 years, 15 years, we have made women a thing. A thing which is mostly without clothes. And a woman's backside, I don't know if I can use the A word.
Yeah, you can use any word you want.
A woman's ass has suddenly become so important. I mean, I was born in 1976. Things were very different in the 80s and the 90s. So suddenly, boobs and ass has become a very important thing. And when it comes to fashion, when it comes to selling cars, when it comes to selling kitchens or hardware, selling anything, there has to be a woman with some skin showing. Not only here, but I mean, mostly in the developed countries. That I don't like.
Okay.
And it should not be. It has changed the world.
Yeah.
It has changed the world. In Islam, you know, and I really like that. It has given so much respect to women. And you know, man, how men think, what we think when we see boobs, or what we see when we see a girl in bikini, or you know,
Yeah.
especially a girl who has a very nice figure.
Yeah, but why is that?
We see ourselves in at least 20 different positions with her. That's what we imagine. That's what we visualize. I mean, most men.
Is it how we are socialized? Is that why we think like that? Because you know, I'm asking those kind of questions because I know that for sure, and I do consider myself a feminist as well in some sorts.
Me too.
Yeah.
Like totally.
But how does that go together then? I feel like saying that every family needs a CEO and it has to be the man. What about women who want to be the CEO? Why should they not be able to be the CEO?
Well, even if they don't want to, they have to in some cases. Sometimes I think we see that a lot, but especially in countries like Pakistan, you know, it's very different in America, and things are very different in Europe. But especially in a country like Pakistan, see if imagine a woman wants to be a CEO here of her family.
Yeah.
Okay. So there are gatherings where there are only men. You know,
Yeah.
people who decide how this village is going to progress. Women are not allowed there, and it has been like this for like, if not thousands of years, but hundreds of years. And the women are supposed to take care of the house, the children, the family. And then I see the West.
Where it's different.
I mean, the porn industry in the United States, I don't know, it's the fourth biggest industry or the third biggest industry in the United States. And I don't see any good coming out of it.
No. It just makes young boys addicted, mostly boys.
Yeah.
And for some of them it ruins their lives. Yeah.
And the way woman is portrayed in
Yeah.
America.
Yeah.
I mean,
Obviously that's out of proportion, you know? Like, I mean, nobody's suggesting that,
freedom.
I don't know, if we give freedom to everybody, everybody's gonna start running around naked. I don't think that would happen, to be honest. Just as a, like, you know, to make it a humoristic example, that it's just out of proportion.
I hear you.
And I think what we need is a balance of sorts, and that's for sure my personal opinion, detached from a lot of my other beliefs, that we have lived out of balance for hundreds, thousands of years. The patriarchy that a lot of feminists are trying to fight, rightfully so, has been the major imprint on society, on human society, for thousands of years, and it's become more and more out of balance. And I think we are living in a time and age where we're starting to realize that we need to put things more in a balance again. And as far as I've talked to both Muslim men, Muslim women, women who live in predominantly Muslim countries who don't ascribe themselves to Islam anymore because they have been suppressed so much, because they've been caged, like you were saying. Also women back home, women in Europe, women in the States, wherever, developed countries, as you say. They also feel like they haven't been able to express themselves in a way where it's more free. They are not allowed to be CEOs because systems are set up in a way that men are preferred to become real CEOs if we're talking about real companies. And I think a lot of people are starting to see that, and more people are starting to agree, or maybe that's just a bubble opinion of mine. I'm not sure. It might be. But personally, I am convinced of that argument that we need a better balance. And don't get me wrong, I'm the first person who will agree that there can never be, for example, biological equity between men and women. If we're going that way, and we're going very far away from our original conversation, and I'm gonna have to catch it in again that we don't get completely off track. But I just want to mention that because I think it's important, that what we need to work for, I think, and when we speak about love, compassion, kindness, those are all traits that I want to say today are more predominant in women than in men. And they might not be the effective injection that we get by raising an animal, but I think we can learn, us as men, we can learn a lot about that and about those kind of topics from women, because they're really good at being compassionate, because they're mothers, because they raise children. We can learn a lot about love. And I think that's what we also need to work for. And I feel like I don't know if it's religious idealism, also in Catholicism, not only in Islam, that kind of caging. So I think we need to detach ourselves from that a little bit.
My friend, it's not caging at all. You know, for a husband in Islam, the most important person, more important than his children, more important than his parents, more important than anything else is his wife. Is his wife. The happiness of his wife is the most important thing for a husband in Islam.
Okay.
If your wife is not happy with you, you're not a good Muslim. And that tells you so much about a woman's. And whatever you said, the cage thing, that's the wrong interpretation of Islam. Again, I'll tell you with full confidence that no religion in the world talks so much about women, gives so much respect to women. And you can read it and tell me if I am wrong. No religion in the world. And people say that in Islam allows 4 marriages. Yeah? Islam is the only religion which has put a limit on marriages. In other religions, there is no limit. Show me one religion in the world which has put a limit on marriages. Only Islam has put a limit. 4 allowed on these conditions. I am like a 300% feminist person.
300%.
300%. And if I was a woman, I would have loved it to be a Muslim woman.
Yeah? You think so?
Yeah. With all those rights. And back in the developed countries, like Saudi and UAE, if a woman gets divorced, she gets a house, she gets servants, she gets cars, she gets a couple of million in her bank account. That's how Islam treats women. When she gets married, she gets so much from the husband, all on her name. So you're supposed to take care of your wife, keep her happy. Not caged, man. Not caged at all.
What about independence, though? Do women need to be dependent on men?
Totally.
Yeah.
They are totally independent. There are no restrictions. There are no restrictions like that. Vulgarity is not allowed.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to go out and wear a deep neck and show your cleavage, then your husband has then Islam tells you to tell your wife to cover herself. Vulgarity and exposing yourself to, okay, if you don't want to take a scarf on your head, that's okay. Islam likes that. But if you're not taking it, there are other things people do. They take bank interest. They indulge in dowry. they indulge in bribe, but nobody talks about it, and it has become so normal in our life. No sin in Islam, no sin is bigger than taking interest. And it is so normal in Muslim countries.
Yeah.
I've told you what it's like. So if they don't want to cover their face, let them. Let them be.
So it's about vulgarity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you know how we discussed how men think.
Yeah.
Women don't know how men think.
I think a lot of them, unfortunately, know. I think a lot of them know because they've experienced it.
Especially in this part of the
second hand.
world,
Yeah.
But still, I have tons of educated friends from different parts of the world, and a lot of them don't know how men think.
Yeah.
When we see a hot-looking babe, there's so much starts in our heads.
It's primal instincts, huh? I don't know if it's just that. Somehow.
But
Anyways.
but if she's covered, the same woman, if she's covered,
Yeah.
then we think less.
Sure. There's less primal instinct. That's true.
There are two candies in front of you. One is wrapped nicely,
Yeah.
and the other one is not wrapped. And they're all here. One wrapped, one not wrapped. Which one will you have?
I'll politely ask first which one wants to be eaten.
Now, will you eat the one which is not wrapped? Because you don't know if there were flies on it, or if I touched it, I put my finger in my nose and then I touched it.
Oh my god. Okay. Okay, we're gonna stop comparing women to food, and we're gonna. I want to speak about one more religious topic though, because it just happened here in Pakistan.
Loving it, bro. Just bring it on.
The sacrificing, the qurbani for Eid al-Adha.
Oh.
We're gonna go back to the animals now, and I know that you posted some things on Instagram about it. Yes.
Sacrifice.
Can you explain to it can you explain to everyone the significance of the sacrifice, and also you were talking about alternatives. I think you were suggesting alternatives. What's your thought on that?
So in Islam, on Eid al-Adha, the animal sacrifice is not a must. It's something which the Prophet did. And it's important, but it's not a must. If you're not able to do it for some reasons, Islam understands. But if you want to do it, there are a lot of things which needs to be taken care of. Like you're supposed to raise the animal with love, take care of the animal, not buy the animal 2 days before the sacrifice. That's what happens mostly. And there is no love. So you have to sacrifice something. This is what Islam says. You have to sacrifice an animal, a goat or a sheep or a cow or a camel. An animal which is very close to your heart, which you have raised, and your family was also involved. And it has spent like at least 6 months or a year with you. And then give the sacrifice. Islam needs that sacrifice, but nobody is doing that. So what they do is they buy the animal 2 days before the sacrifice, and then they slaughter it, and before they slaughter the animal, a whole picnic is organized and parties. And everybody is inviting everybody that we are going to have kadai and we are going to have sajji, all these exotic dishes and nihari and pie, and come over to our house and we'll have bonfire and we'll have music. When you sacrifice something which is very close to your heart, this is not what you do. You weep for like 3 days. And you don't put all those nicely cooked dishes on the table and tell everyone, okay, let's for a second, let's give a name to the animal. Let's call the animal Chunnu. Okay?
Okay.
So they sacrificed Chunnu, which they raised for a year, and all the children were also involved. And then they cooked Chunnu and put the dishes on the dining table, and you think the children are going to eat that meat?
They wouldn't.
There are so many videos, they're like constantly crying for like a week. This is the sacrifice what Islam wants on Eid al-Adha. And then, you know, they sacrifice the animal, they buy it 2 days before the day, and then they sacrifice it, and then whatever the leftovers are, the intestines and the stomach and everything which they don't want to eat, they open the main door of the house and they throw it outside next to the electric pole, or just near their house. They just throw it outside. That's what you do when you sacrifice someone very close to your heart. Yeah. The Prophet, when it started, the Prophet was going to sacrifice his son.
And then
Ibrahim
it was
was
substituted by a sheep, right?
Yeah, Ibrahim was going to sacrifice Ismail, if I'm correct. Peace be upon them. You don't organize parties and eat your loved one's meat. You distribute the meat to the poor. The poor, there are people in Pakistan who eat meat just twice a year. And I'm not exaggerating. On just once a year, sorry, on this Eid. Otherwise, they never get to eat meat. It is so out of their range.
That's crazy.
So Eid al-Adha, if it is not wrongly interpreted, if done in the right manner, it is going to be very different, and a lot of people are not even going to do Qurbani. And if they do, they will not arrange parties. A lot of Prophets, closest people, a few of them were vegetarians. It is not compulsory in Islam to eat meat. It is not a must. It is not even important to eat meat in Islam. Neither in Hadith nor in Quran. Because some of the closest people to the Prophet never ate meat. And the Prophet himself was a flexitarian. A flexitarian is a person who eats meat occasionally, meat which comes through a humane source.
Important to note, humane, not human. Not a human source.
Humane source. And it's just not possible to eat meat in big cities. You know, where will you bring humane meat? Unless you raise your own goats and your own livestock, your own chicken, your own beef.
Which brings us back to the sacrifice, because if you raise your own animals, you would only kill them for a special occasion. You would not just kill an animal every Sunday just because you feel like
doing a party, throwing a party.
A barbecue with your friends. So does... is there any way to eliminate animal sacrifice completely in Islam, or is that's just Eid al-Adha, sorry. There needs to be an animal sacrifice.
You know, there are 75 billion animals on the planet. This is the other side of the picture. There are 8 billion people, and these 8 people, humans, have raised 75 billion farm animals.
And most of them live under terrible conditions.
We're talking about animal agriculture, animal factories here. They are huge, and they're mostly located in America or Europe or Canada or Australia. We are farming ostriches, pigs, goats, sheep, cows, birds, fish. So whatever we have raised, us humans, 8 billion of us, counts, so including the humans and the animals we have raised, we are our total mass, our total weight on the planet is 98%, and only 2% is what we have in the wild. It was the opposite just 100 years ago.
Yeah.
So we have destroyed our forests, we have destroyed our oceans, we have dead zones are in our oceans. Dead zones are zones where life cannot exist.
Yes.
And people do not even know that the oxygen we inhale, 80% of it comes from oceans.
Yes.
Only 20% comes from trees. So we're destroying our oceans, our forests. Those 75 billion animals, they need to eat. And then we cut forests to grow their grains. And you wanted to ask something, sir?
No. I just I don't know what I wanted to add. That basically that we're eliminating our own life sources, and we already talked about it before. That's gonna bring us into huge trouble very soon, because we're gonna have, and you know, in I just know from my previous work that in Europe there are definitely politicians who think about those kind of problems, but they're not being heard. Because the industries, the industrial complexes, the meat industry, that's probably one that's even bigger than the porn industry, isn't it? I don't know.
The meat and the dairy industry is like the banks.
Yeah.
They are huge.
Yeah.
They are huge.
Massive.
So what they do is they tell you again and again through all the big food chains, like I can name the food chains, right? Like McDonald's and KFC and Pizza Hut and.
Yeah. I'm not interested in any sponsoring by those companies, so you can name whoever you want.
So they never tell you, all these food chains, all the big food chains, they never tell you to have beetroot or cucumbers or spinach. They tell you to have beef and fried chicken and have dairy in like 50 different ways.
And today they're trying to greenwash themselves.
Yes.
By saying, oh, we also offer veggie nuggets, or like, I don't know, fake beef burgers, stuff like that. To not lose customers who are actually aware that we're gonna have food troubles, or that we are gonna destroy our planet if we continue like that. But they're not aware that they're still feeding into that complex. And I've eaten at McDonald's just a few weeks ago. I'm not a holy person who doesn't make those kind of mistakes, and who when I'm preaching like that, I'm also at the same time a hypocrite, because I do eat meat still, and I do eat meat where I don't know the source from.
Flexitarian is the way out.
Yeah.
I think
so
that's the best way out. And then a lot of people will not be able to eat meat, especially Muslims.
How they won't be able to eat meat?
Meat which comes through humane source. That's what a flexitarian is supposed to do.
Yeah.
So how will people in New York, Muslims in New York, will eat meat? How will they find meat which has come through a humane source? Because America runs on animal agriculture and animal factories. It's huge out there. Like up to 1 million or 1.5 million animals at one farm.
Yeah, it's crazy. How is it possible to slaughter an animal in a humane source while still being halal?
Yeah, that's what Islam says. I mean, you raise an animal and you want to slaughter.
But I mean the slaughtering, because that's what they do for Qurbani. The animals are being slaughtered alive, right? I don't know the English word for that, but there's no sort of. It's like a slitting the throat. It's a very slow death. I've witnessed the Qurbani of a yak, and that animal was still alive for at least 5 minutes after they slit its throat. So it's not a very humane way of killing it, is it? So does that go together somehow?
The way animals are slaughtered in the slaughterhouses, with a blink of an eye. The blood stays in the meat, and no matter how you wash it, it's not clean meat. And Muslims believe that when an animal is sacrificed in a humane way and the main artery is cut off, the blood comes out with full force and the animal feels less pain.
But as someone who is an animal activist, do you think that's true? That it feels less pain? Because to me it seems like when you have a blink of an eye, yeah sure, the meat stays dirty, maybe. But at least the animal is not in pain for 5 minutes. That's how I witnessed it. I mean, I've seen how animals get killed at a slaughterhouse. I've seen how an animal got killed during a kurbani. And in my personal opinion, the slaughterhouse way seems less pain-inflicting to the animal. And more humane, in a sense. In a sense. Although the raising of the animal was not humane in the slaughterhouse, of course.
Of course.
But at least the process of killing the animal itself. But that's just my observation.
The animal faces less pain. There's a very spiritual, answer to all that. And you can believe that only when you are a Muslim.
Okay.
And you just, there are things which you can't see, but they're there, like air.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen it?
Air particles? Well, they're hard to see.
You see dust particles,
Yes.
but have you ever seen air?
Yeah.
But it's there.
Yeah.
So once you become
Actually,
a Muslim,
I have seen it, but on a different state of mind.
I hear you, bro. Loud and clear. Me too. Different colors.
Yes, exactly.
So yeah. So this is one of those things, when you become Muslim, when you become a true believer, and I see very few of them out there. Yeah. But as far as I am concerned, I can never slaughter an animal.
Yeah.
I can't even see.
Wow.
And this is one of the reasons I was not with my family. Everybody is with his or her family on Eid. So last year I was here, and this year I am also here because I don't want to see all that, they slaughter animals and then they throw everything outside their home and then the streets are full of animal remains.
Yeah.
This is not how a Muslim is supposed to do.
Yeah.
This is ugliness. This is not Islam. This is like the dead opposite of Islam.
Yeah.
Dead opposite. So I don't want to be there.
You wanna finish up, looking at the time, on the spiritual note? Because I think it's interesting and I love talking about it. And you were talking about comparative religions, that's your friend in Chicago. And I think about religion, faith, beliefs, spirituality quite a bit. I talk to a lot of people about it. I think it's a very interesting question to raise.
Yeah.
And as someone who is, I think, a deep believer in Islam, I think it's just interesting to gain the perspective. Why do you think...
Deep believer in all religions.
Me personally, or you?
But I'm a Muslim. If you are a Muslim, you have to believe in Christianity, otherwise you are not a Muslim.
Yeah.
You have to believe in Judaism, again you are not a Muslim.
Yeah.
And now, the latest research also shows that you have to believe in Hinduism as well.
Yeah.
Because there were 123,000 prophets. We only know like 10,000 of them.
Yeah.
So the prophets, the important people mentioned in the Hindu Vedas, the religion is called Vedantism. It's
Yes.
not Hinduism.
Yes.
It's called Vedantism. So whatever we see in the Vedas and the Bhagavad Gita, the important people there are very, very, very strong chances that they were prophets of their times. And a very important scholar, Zakir Naik, said this very interesting thing. He said the difference between Islam and Hinduism is only of a apostrophe S. And there is no other difference. Hindus believe everything is God. Muslims believe everything is God's. And he says I mean, he's the biggest Islamic scholar on the planet. I don't know, he's the biggest speaker on the planet. And he's banned in many countries, including, I think, Malaysia or Indonesia, and he's banned in India. He's an Indian Muslim.
Okay.
But he's banned in India.
Wow.
And he's wanted. What was I saying? I'm sorry.
About the apostrophe, everything is God, everything is God's.
Yeah, everything is God and everything is.
That's,
And if Hindus read their holy books correctly, because the same problem is there too. They read it in Sanskrit. They never try to really understand it in their own language. And just like in Pakistan, everybody reads Quran in Arabic, but people don't understand what Quran says, but because they have never read it in their own mother language.
it's like if I were to read the Bible in Latin.
Exactly.
I wouldn't understand any of it.
So they think Allah is very happy with them. Of course, Allah will be happy a little bit. But if you understand it, then He'll be happy more, because He sent this message for you, for His people to understand.
Yeah. So how can we bring together people? How can we stop people killing each other because they have the wrong religion?
The meaning of Islam is peace.
Yeah.
That's the very core of Islam.
Yeah.
We need to. I'm sorry, you asked how can we bring peace?
How can we bring the people together and stop people hurting each other, causing pain to each other, killing each other in the name of religion? It's been going on for hundreds, for thousands of years. All religions are guilty. I don't want to exclude anyone, but it's still happening today.
Don't send your children to schools, colleges, and universities. And believe in homeschooling.
Okay.
Homeschooling is not an experiment. It has a history of thousands of years. Public school system is an experiment on humans. It's only 150 years old. So believe in homeschooling and allow your children to raise animals, fruits, vegetables, and stay close to nature.
Yeah.
We need compassion, empathy, love, and kindness on the planet. And as I told you earlier, this is the only way.
Yeah.
If you have a better way, tell me what is the better way.
I don't.
There is.
Scientifically, no. Actually, I think it's good because you're starting earlier. When you show kids how to do it, it's important to show it to them when they're kids.
Yeah.
Because I do think having children is something magical as well, and it changes you as a person. Both men and women, women even more than men, because they carry out the child. They are with it for months, and that teaches you how to love, how to be compassionate, how to love unconditionally.
The difference between
But much later. Yeah.
Human babies and animal babies, humans and animals, is that we can speak and they can't.
Yeah.
And that does so much.
Yeah.
Because they can't talk.
Yeah.
And that teaches you patience.
Sure.
That tells you the true meaning of empathy.
Sure. A few last words
Yes,
to how people can get involved, how people can get engaged. Do you have opportunities for people here to help out at the animal shelters that you run, for example? Is there any sort of like volunteering going on in your institutions that you have here, for example?
Yes, we need help here too. We need volunteers in Hunza as well. I want to do a proper shelter. Right now, it's just me and a couple of locals who help out. And then what we have in Lahore is called Hachi Animal Awareness Center. It's not a shelter. So I'll share I have an Insta highlight.
Yes.
I'll share that with you. It's called Hachi Animal Awareness Center. And it is the only animal awareness center in Lahore, and I think there are only a couple of them in Pakistan. So what we do is we invite children there. The kind of childhood I had, I don't want children to go through the kind of childhood I had as far as animals are concerned.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I had a beautiful childhood.
Yeah.
Okay, it was awesome, man.
Yeah.
We can talk about that for hours. So I'm sorry. You have to
The Animal Awareness Center.
Yeah, yeah.
You're
So,
teaching children how.
so we invite children. We ask schools to send children to our Animal Awareness Center. It's centrally located in Lahore, heart of Lahore, Gulberg, Liberty, very close to Liberty Market, and we have this big space, like 20 feet by 60 feet hall without any columns, with a metal fence on the sides and covered from the top, of course, with big trees on two sides. So it's a nice place. It's inside my gallery, and my gallery is also my home. So anyways, so the children we invite through schools to our Animal Awareness Center. We prefer children who are scared of animals. We prefer children who have never touched an animal. I told you I go to schools a lot, and I introduce my dog Hachi to children. And I figured out that 90%, again I'm using percentages, 80% or 90% children in every classroom in these rural areas, I'm talking about villages especially, have never touched an animal, especially a dog. They have touched goats and sheep, but they have never touched a dog. And they are so scared of it, and all they can think of is that the dog is going to bite them. They're just scared of it. And it's very easy to change a child's mind, to bring him to this side of the world. It's just a simple line. And that transition between extreme fear to extreme love, and everything happening within like 3 minutes, I just love those expressions when I'm introducing a frightened child to Hachi. Everything happens within 5 minutes. But it is very difficult with adults. But it's now, at least after doing it for like 5-7 years now, it has become very easy for me. And I just love it so much. It gives me that it gives me goosebumps every time I do it. I see the expressions changing on a child's face, coming from that side to this side of the line.
Yeah, that must be nice. Really amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. I talk a lot, especially when it comes to animals and nature and processed food and women empowerment and talking about women. I'll quickly say this. So my company back in Lahore is a furniture company. It's like a very old company, and my family, we are furniture manufacturers and retailers and exporters. So we have this really nice factory in Lahore. So what we do is, there's this furniture factory here in Hunza called Shikam in Altit village. So we train those women every year in our factory in Lahore. So we teach them different skills like carpentry, wood carving, painting the furniture, polishing, machine work, administration work. So we've been doing it for close to 5-6 years now. So last year we hosted 25 women there, and we arranged accommodation for them, and we trained them at our factory. So I'm telling you this because more people need to come here and work for women empowerment in Pakistan, and come to GB, Gilgit-Baltistan. You can also work in Punjab. You can also work in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. And we need to empower our women.
Do you also teach them to be CEOs?
The CEOs. I somehow knew you were going to ask me something like that. Something else.
I had to. Yeah. Because that, I think, honestly, and I have deep respect for this conversation, for you as a person, for everybody out there. And I think live and let live is a very important thing when it comes to any sorts of beliefs, religions, whatever. But I do think that can be the next step.
Yeah.
I think.
If
think.
if it's my wife, I'll help her become a CEO of a company.
Yeah.
But as far as marriage,
Yeah.
that marriage is an institution. So as far as that institution is concerned, I would like to remain a CEO of that institution, because not only because my religion says so,
Yeah.
but also because I believe in that too.
Sure. That's fair enough. That's fair enough.
Yeah.
And I'm also sure this.
But I'm sorry to cut you like this, but I'm very much against people who treat their wives as slaves or someone they own. It's like a property they own. So as far as husband and wife are concerned, me and also Islam and also me, I believe that it has to be a relationship which has blossomed through the process of friendship, with a mix of love and romance and all that. And there are going to be times which will be full of trouble, and you won't like each other, but that's what life is.
That is what life is.
Yeah. That constant happiness, you only see it in movies.
Yeah.
Life is about
The kind of movies that people love here, right? Yeah, but yeah, life is about up and downs. It is a roller coaster. I mean, from my experience, it's for sure like that, and relationships are like that too. Romantic relationships as well as relationships with your friends, family. None of it is gonna be perfect. We were talking about it earlier. Perfectionism it's totally an illusion.
Yeah, absolutely. You won't understand this because it's Punjabi, but I'm going to say it, and it was said by a Sufi saint. It's poetry. वक्त दा बेली हर कोई होंदा शाला वक्त ना खावे डोले सज्जन बन दुश्मन वेंदे जदों वक्त नू पैंदे हौले गुलाम फरीदा सदा वक्त नहीं रहंदे कदी तोले ते कदी मासे. Your time will never remain the same, and most of the people around you are around you because your time is good right now. When your time is not good, a lot of them will disappear. Your friends will become your enemies when your time is bad. And there is no such thing as only good times. There are good times and then there are bad times. And always remember that. This is what the poetry says.
It's very nice. I think it's a good way to close up. I have 2 remaining questions that I ask at the end of my podcasts.
Yes, sir.
The first one is, you can write a letter to a person. Can be a person of the past, a person of the future, a fictitious person, a real person. What would you write in that letter, and who would you send it to?
I wanted to send a letter and also meet Imran Khan when he was the Prime Minister, and I hope he comes back. In love with him for over 30 years. As I told you earlier, in order to bring a big change in a country, in a country especially like Pakistan, it has to come from the top. A big change. Like a change for, animals. And that change is not only for animals, it's also for humans, because the world needs animal awareness. I think it's a one-window solution for all our problems, no matter what the problem the world has, no matter what the problem humans have. Animal awareness has a solution for every little problem, and I can talk about it for hours. Because through animal awareness, we'll have compassion and empathy love and kindness when we'll allow our children to raise animals. If we start today, we will harvest the crop after 15 to 20 years. We'll have a society full of compassionate people. So what I wanted to talk to the Prime Minister, to Imran Khan, because he's an animal lover, and I have never seen, I don't know of any other leader who loves animals the way he does. And most of our leaders have never touched an animal. It's dirty for them. They are scared of the animals. How can, as far as I am concerned, I strongly believe if you don't like dogs, the chances, if you don't like dogs, it's almost impossible that you're a nice person. If you don't like dogs, if you don't like cats. And you know, cats, that's 2 years ago or 3 years ago, they allowed cats at the most important spot on the planet when it comes to Islam, when it comes to Muslims, the Khana Kaaba in Saudi Arabia.
Oh, really? Interesting.
That mosque is called Haram Park, and the second most important mosque is called Masjid Nabawi, and cats are allowed there. They roam around, and you're performing pilgrimage and you see cats there.
Nice. Okay, so you would tell Imran Khan about animal welfare and how important it would be.
Yeah, I mean, bringing changes in the education system of Pakistan, shutting down all the zoos in Pakistan, shutting down animal circus in Pakistan. You have no idea how animal circus operates in Pakistan. Ending animal theft in Pakistan, shutting down places like Tollington Market in Lahore and Empress Market in Karachi, where all the stolen animals go and then they get traded. And they don't keep the animals there. They have safe houses. So they analyze you first, and then they show you a picture. Okay, I have this dog. Do you want it? But they'll make sure you're good first. And I'm going to shut down. If it's in my hands, I'm going to change so much in the dairy industry across, not only in Pakistan, but across the world.
Dairy.
The humans, no matter which country, no matter which city, dairy works in the same manner. Baby cow is killed within 3 days. They don't need it, because if the baby cow will drink the milk of its mother, what will you and I drink? And it's killed, and then they make you eat it. McDonald's, Hardee's.
Schnitzel. They make schnitzel out of it.
Yeah, and they also make sausages out of it, and they also make the popular dishes in Pakistan are nihari, halim, biryani. So people don't know they are eating a baby cow. It's veal you are eating. And when the mother dies, after giving birth to I don't know how many calves, they convert the mother into sausages.
That's the meat and dairy industry for you there, ladies and gentlemen.
And they start with artificial insemination, that's the first torture. And then, the total production of 80% of the total production of the antibiotics produced in the world, 80% of that is used in animal agriculture. And then it enters our bodies too, and then it makes us sick. To cut the long story short, the entire meat and dairy industry of the world is owned by the pharmaceuticals. There is no money in healthy people.
Only in sick people.
There is no money in dead people. Money is in the center, it's in the sick people. So make them sick. Don't tell them about vegetables, fruits and flowers. Don't even tell them that there are hundreds of flowers which you can eat. Don't tell them that. Don't tell them that you don't need medicine for this. You need ginger and garlic and hot water. You don't need to eat those antibiotics. Just add some turmeric with honey in hot water, sprinkle some black pepper, and it is the best antibiotic humans have ever seen.
Yeah. There's everything we need in nature, really.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
You eat cherries, it has so many benefits.
Yeah.
But you know how many benefits does cherry leaves has? Antioxidant, muscle relaxant,
Yeah.
and 10 other things.
Yeah. There's many secrets. All right. Last question.
Sir.
It's got to do something with nature, actually. What's your favorite bird?
My favorite bird is eagle. And I don't know what exactly is the difference between an eagle and a falcon.
One is bigger than the other.
Yeah, but the birds who fly high
Yeah.
and make their nests high.
Okay.
Because my favorite poet, I consider him the best writer who ever lived on the planet.
Wow.
His name is Iqbal,
Iqbal.
Allama Iqbal. He's our national poet. And he's taught in different universities in Europe and I don't know, in other countries. So he's basically a poet. So his poetry is concentrated wisdom, maximum knowledge in minimum time.
Yes.
Okay? So in his poetry, he has used the word Shaheen for falcon or eagle. You know, they make their nests on top of the mountains, on top of big trees. They fly high. They never eat the dead. They hunt themselves.
Yeah.
They are fearless hunters.
Shaheen.
You know, Shaheen is the word.
Okay.
And this is what he says a Muslim should be like. This is what Quran says that a Muslim is. This is the definition of a Muslim. And one of he's also done a lot of Persian poetry. So one of his verses, it translates like this. So he says to Allah that on the day of judgment, if you find a single word in my poetry, in my entire work, which is not Quran, I want you to disgrace me. I want you not to let me see the face of the beloved Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And just like put me in hell.
Wow.
If you find a single word in my poetry, in my work, which is not Quran and something else. So Shaheen is his favorite bird. Eagle, falcon.
Birds of prey, basically.
And he says a true Muslim is like that. He's a Shaheen. He's a falcon. He's an eagle. He does not eat the dead.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, thank you. Is there anything else you want to add?
I can keep on talking, bro, like for us. So just believe on one thing and the entire world, everything around you will change. But truly believe in that. We are not human beings. We are spiritual beings going through a human experience. When we live in cities, when we send our children to schools, colleges and universities, when we don't believe in homeschooling, when we don't believe in growing vegetables, fruits and flowers, when we don't believe in staying close to nature, when we believe in self-built concrete jails we call cities, we just cannot be, we just cannot have that peace.
Yes.
We cannot have that harmony. We cannot synchronize ourselves with ourselves, with nature. So, try to spend as much time with nature, grow vegetables, flowers, fruits, allow your children to raise animals, grow all this, grow food for themselves, teach them skills. And in homeschooling, which was good for like thousands and thousands and thousands of years, they taught more skills and less theory.
Yeah.
More skills than books.
Yeah.
And now the world has become a global village. So by the time a person is 15, he knows everything. He has seen everything. So there's nothing else left for him. That's why a lot of people are committing suicides. There's so much anger, there's so much anxiety, there's so much depression in the society because there's nothing else to see. They're bored to death.
Well, I can say from my own experience that's not true.
No.
There's so much to see out there. This place, all the other places, there's places for sure.
Absolutely. So you won't understand that, and nobody will understand that until and unless they allow themselves to spend time in nature. They truly allow nature to inject itself in their blood, and this is not possible if they come to nature for like 3 days or 4 days and 5 days. So I have this theory that it starts on the 16th day. You start feeling this thing. You can't read it in books. I can't tell you. These are called kaifiyat in my language, and the best translation in English is feelings.
Yeah.
You know, you feel these things.
Yeah.
You can't talk about these things. So it starts on the 16th day.
16th day connecting with nature.
Yeah, nature starts injecting itself in little portions, and after like 100 days, you start smiling. You have this constant smile on your face.
Yeah.
It happens after 100 days. So since my childhood, I have told you I'm originally from Quetta. If you want to enter Pakistan by road, you enter from Iran. You coming from Europe, you enter Turkey, and then you come to Iran, and then you enter Quetta. There is no other way.
Yes, there is. I did it.
It's Gwadar. You must have been in
Gwadar.
Gwadar. Recently, people have been coming from there.
2 to 3 years. But
Yeah.
before that, yeah.
But for the long period of time, even now, a lot of people enter and come to Quetta. That's my hometown.
Yeah.
So now things have changed. But when I was growing up back in 80s, I was born in 1976. So back in 80s, I saw travelers everywhere in Quetta. There was a sign in Quetta which says a milestone, which says England these many kilometers, Istanbul these many kilometers, Berlin these many kilometers, and a bus there were buses on this route which used to start from London,
Yeah.
enter Pakistan and go to Bombay, India.
Nice.
Because Pakistan and India were one country
Yeah.
before the partition, and even after the partition, the buses used to come from this route, London to Bombay. You can find it on YouTube and Google,
Wow.
the bus service. So I used to see foreigners everywhere and travelers, and that's how it all started. You know, that's how it got injected in my blood, nature and travelers, and there were caravans and motorcycles and
There's a merit to it for sure. Connecting with nature, getting yourself out there, putting on different glasses of perception, like you were saying earlier.
yeah. And my father used to host travelers.
Nice.
We had a big house, and my grandfather used to host them too. And they were also motorcyclists.
Nice. Very good.
My grandfather and my dad. My dad used to travel a lot on motorcycles, and a lot of me comes from my dad. He's the only living dervish I know.
The only living dervish.
Yeah. He is a pious man, and there are people who have a small circle.
Yeah.
They take care of themselves, and that's it. And then people with a slightly bigger circle, they take care of their wife and their children. And then slightly bigger circle, parents and brothers and sisters, and then they have bigger circles, relatives and neighbors, and then there's a bigger circle, where the entire humanity comes in it. That's my father. And honestly, I have not seen, I know of another person, doctor, there's an Islamic scholar who, the only Islamic scholar I like. There are many in the world, but the only one I like, his name is Dr. Israr. I love him. He's not alive anymore, but you know, his videos and tons of videos on YouTube. And other than him, it's my father. He has a big circle.
Amazing. Yeah, beginning your circle, connecting with nature and traveling. Wow.
Very simple,
Yes.
very down to earth guy.
I'm gonna wrap this up. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Yaqub.
Yes.
Thank you.
And a very fascinating, also challenging conversation for me, but very, very good.
All right, that was it. I hope you guys liked it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys learned as much as I did, or maybe even more. For me, it was surely, like I said, a challenging conversation. It also challenged my own beliefs, my own points of views. But to me, those kind of conversations are very valuable, and I think we need to have way more of those where we don't necessarily agree on every topic, as you heard, but we can still find a very respectful way to discuss certain topics, to discuss certain issues, to discuss certain points of views, and especially when it comes to things like faiths and beliefs and religion. Those kind of conversations can be very tricky. Like I said, please let me know what you think. I'm always very, very happy and welcoming of any sort of feedback. And with that, I give you the sound of an eagle, and I chose one that is native to the Karakoram Mountains, which is the golden eagle. And this is what it sounds like. So, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for spending your time with me. Thanks for listening. Please feel free to share this with your friends if you found it inspiring, if you found it challenging, if you found it controversial. Like I said, hit that subscribe, that subscribe button, hit that like button, give me all the stars on Spotify or wherever. Until next time, much peace and love, Jakob.